So, hello everybody, welcome here to this live stream of Sunday, 8th of October 2017, in case you watch this video later as a regular upload, I should say. So, tonight we're going to dive into the work of Clementi, the Sonatines. Many of you will know them, and I've heard some mixed reactions this week on the announcement of diving into the Sonatines. So I'm thrilled to share that with you, because I can promise you, if you have somewhat negative judgment over the Sonatines, I hope I can change that perception, because I think it's wonderful music. On that in a second. And if you are new here to this channel, my name is Wim Winters, and this channel is all about sharing the beauty, exploring the beauty from the music of from Bach to Beethoven and beyond. And sharing that through performances and actually also the research that we are doing. So opening all of that for you, hopefully to inspire you as a musician or as a listener. And if that's the case, I would love to have you subscribe to the channel and join the Authentic Sound community, so to say. So, and before also starting to talk about and play, but because this evening is going to be a playing evening, a performance evening, so to say, I would like to take a short moment to thank all my Patreons at patreon.com. They are supporting the things we're doing, and certainly the live streams, actually sponsoring them. And if you don't know what that is, patrons.com is a website basically where you can support the things we're doing. Anya will give a link in the chat now. She's moderating the chat as always. And there is also a link in the description box. And literally for 1 cup of coffee a month, you can support the things that we are doing. Imagine that just 5% of the people who watch Authentic Sound would do that. Then this would become our full-time job, which is, by the way, not the reason why we're making these videos to ask you for that, but it's just mentioning this because it is important to make all of this sustainable, so that we can continue with giving you information, sharing the things that I'm passionate about, which is on its own a privilege to do. So Clementi is a composer that is really close to me, and it has not been always like that. I'm just looking now at my screen and asking Anya if everything is okay with the live stream.
I think so.
Okay, because I don't see the chat popping up on my computer, but okay, there's no problem, other than I cannot say hello to you if you are in the chat already. I'll figure out what's wrong with that in a minute. So if everything is okay, that's fine with me. So Clementi is a composer that's dear to me, but I must be honest that also I was not aware of Clementi too much. Of course, we all know the name. But if I talk on my personal history with him, for me, when I dived into his work more, and it has to do with the clavichord, tried out some of his music, which worked great on the clavichord, I started to learn more about him as a composer, and actually was, I tell you as it is, surprised to learn that he was about the age of the same date of birth as Mozart. Mozart 1756, Clementi 1752, so he was 4 years the elder of Mozart. And he lived a very long and prosperous life. He died in 1832, so imagine only that Mozart would have died in 1836. I mean, that's just unimaginable. So Clementi lived a very long life, and in his days, from a very early period until his death, actually, he was considered to be one of the pillars of keyboard playing, of piano playing. Of course, he had his piano factory. He was a very good salesman, very good businessman. But that's actually his life from 1805 something and going up. Before that, he didn't have a piano factory. In the 18th century, he lived almost a half a century in the 18th century. Can you imagine? That was for me a kind of opening. So comparing Clementi to Mozart is perfectly possible. Haydn, of course, was there as a very big name. And Clementi was much influenced in England. He was when he was 7 years old, he was kind of discovered by an English rich man who loved music, and he asked the father of Clementi if Muzio could join him, and he would guarantee him if his education and things like that. So the young Clementi was given a very good education in London and was appointed also as a cembalo player to a kind of theater where they played a lot of operas by Handel, also Bach and Scarlatti. So he was very well aware of the history of music and of the greatest composers. And then around 1780 he toured throughout whole Europe, which left enormous traces in music history. That's also the moment on Christmas Eve 1781 where he met Mozart. Mozart was called in the very last minute by the emperor, because Mozart only arrived in Vienna shortly before, to kind of compete with Clementi. We make out more of that than there was, but that was of course much in fashion at the day. And so the story goes that Clementi won. And from the letters of Mozart, if you read what he wrote to his father, we today make out of that a kind of, Mozart was saying, well, the only thing he can do is playing thirds and sixth intervals and things like that, and he is actually misleading a lot of the people because he writes presto and prestissimo in his music, but he plays allegro ma non troppo all the time. So he's cheating on everybody. But if you read between the lines, Mozart kind of acknowledged what a kind of giant figure at the moment Clementi was, and his own music would change, would become more virtuosic, more technically demanding, and also the style that Clementi developed at the time was really setting the way for Beethoven. Clementi is one of those composers that we really cannot miss in music history for opening the way to everything that we call today romantic. And still my chat is not popping up, but if Anya says, is everything okay, then I'm just continuing with my story, my introduction. And we're going to play a lot of music, I can promise you that. So, she's now saying something?
Oh no, it's not popping up here. On the screen you mean?
It's not on the screen, eh?
No.
So let me give just 30 seconds to see if I did something wrong here with the live stream, because it's always nice to have the chat on the screen. So I just copy here the chat, go to the browser here, and then see if this works. Yeah, there it is. But strangely enough, it's still not popping up on my screen where it should be. So it's what it is. Anyway. So,
no, here it is.
yeah, it's on my screen also. Yeah, it's complicated, but I cannot read it from here. But so I'm sorry if I don't say hello to you because your names are too small. But anyway, back to Clementi. He was again one of those figures that we really don't want to miss in music history. And if we fast forward to today, strangely enough, he has a kind of negative name. Also, even to the sonatas that I've uploaded on YouTube, sometimes you read that he was only a kind of clown, a kind of virtuosic. I mean, there's a lot of positive things said about him. That's of course true, but I can kind of wonder why people have such negative connotation with Clementi, and it probably has to do with piano class, very traditional piano classes where you had to play Clementi, Sonatines. Even some of you I've read have played Gradus ad Parnassum. And if you have done, of course, piano lessons with a teacher that takes the metronome and lets you play faster and faster and faster, then it not only kills that music, because I can tell you Clementi is not, Mozart is of course Mozart and Beethoven is Beethoven. And so if you increase those tempi beyond kind of limit, then Mozart and Beethoven miraculously survive somehow, but Clementi not always. So it becomes a little bit more empty music. It needs accentuation, it needs affect, it needs character, it needs understanding of all those elements, and then it blossoms up. It really becomes great music. But that's how it is. And I can understand if you had to study that in piano class, that it's... I still remember one story with a piano teacher at the time. I was teaching piano myself for some years, end of the 90s, beginning of 2000. And we had a conversation about Clementi. I just bought a bundle of sonatas. It's on my piano because I'm playing a lot of them. This number one. So volume 1. It's a Breitkopf and Hertel edition, 19th century edition. That's the only full print of the sonata that I have, so he composed way more. But even today, as we speak, I believe now in Italy there is a project within this series. These are the letters of Clementi. That's the Orpheus Edizione. It is very expensive. I believe they have completed now the keyboard works and more than that. But luckily enough, but 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the sonatas by Clementi were not available, as I know, in modern print. You had to go, now we can go on IMSLP and download them in the 19th century edition, which by the way is not a good edition. But that's ununderstandable. So I was talking to my colleague piano teacher and said, well, I have the sonatas. And he said, did Clementi ever wrote sonatas? He only wrote sonatines. No, he wrote sonatas. But yeah, some way or another, the value of even the sonatines was kind of diminished. It was not giving the credit Clementi that he deserved. And of course, I didn't pay attention to that because Clementi was very far from what I would consider to be music that I would be interested in. So anyway, the other aspect, however, is that if you gave the C major sonatine to your students, very young students, I mean, they start here in Belgium at 7, 8 years, 9, 10, 11, some of them can play then the C major sonatine, they love it. And I can imagine why now. So you have, of course, the element of the modern piano. That's a big instrument for such music. We are used to the language of Mozart on that instrument, which I don't mind at all, to be honest. I think that the period instrument, like a clavichord, gives something extra, and certainly Clementi benefits from that. But on the other hand, it has also to do with performances, I think. And also with the perception that if you start from the point where you say, well, Clementi is just Clementi, then you might not dive deep in the music and search for what it has to offer, okay? So for tonight, that was a kind of introduction to that I think was necessary to give you a little bit the sketch of the situation, the context. For me, I dived into his work through the sonatas, playing it on clavichord, also the Gradus ad Parnassum, which is a great bundle of etudes and preludes and fugues. So all of those composers at the time, they went back to the polyphony, and of course that was the reason why J.S.Bach was not rediscovered, but he came more to the surface. Also Czerny, by the way, wrote Gradus ad Parnassum, both etudes and preludes and fugues. I have from both Czerny and Clementi some works uploaded on my channel. If you have not seen, just go to YouTube, not now, but tomorrow or so, to my homepage on YouTube, and you can search for Clementi and Czerny. And if you've never heard those works, you will be amazed of the quality, not only by the way they create the music. I mean, that's very inventive, but also the skills, the craftsmanship that they have in those fugues. They really mastered that style. So in those days, Clementi was a big name. He was a giant. And when he died in 1832, you should read the diary of Moscheles, who lived in London at the time that Clementi was there. And it's really actually touching and moving how the great Moscheles wrote about Clementi. So tonight I'm going to share with you just a kind of practice evening. I'm going to play through the sonatines. We see how far we come. And I've just gone through them, made some fingerings, but it's a kind of side reading as well. So it's not my reference recording that you're going to hear. I will maybe comment some from time to time or just play. And hopefully that will, if you have a kind of negative connotation with the sonatines or don't know even the music, I hope you will leave this evening with a lot of inspiration for that music. So then to really close this introduction, the reason that I dived into the sonatines now is because someone asked me if I could upload a recording of the sonatina in C major. So I downloaded the music. I'm playing now from the first print And there's just a note that I have to unmute channel 1 and 2, which are the big microphones there. And I started playing them, and I kept playing them. So I thought, why not making a project out of that? It ties in also to the 6 quote-unquote easy sonatas that Kostas Papazafaropoulos wrote, and that we are working on very hard now, as the preparation for the edition is almost finished. It will take some weeks, maybe months, because we want to have it perfect. It's an expensive project. If you want to print music, that's not it. But it ties into that project as well, because you could say that the Kostas sonatas is actually a natural next step compared to the Sonatines by Clementi. And I remember very well that Kostas, during one Skype meeting that we had talking about that project, that he said it's extremely difficult to kind of rip your composition style so much technically to give students the possibility to play in that style, but it's of course much easier if you just can write whatever you want for the virtuoso piano player or keyboard player. So he said it's very demanding to bring that level down, and he learned a lot by doing that. Now, playing Clementi, it's even way simpler even than what Kostas wrote. It's touching somewhat in the same areas, but he's giving the students not only beautiful music to play, short pieces, somewhat longer, very different in technique, but also in style. You will hear that sometimes you hear a piano concerto, you hear the adagio section of a piano concerto, and so that students must be thrilled to play that. So that's actually, I have made some notes. So that project with the Sonatines could become a project on its own, not only for YouTube. I like that music so much that maybe this could lead to a recording project for a CD or a vinyl box with the print of the score in a very good print. So very close to the manuscript of the first print, with my fingerings and some notes. If that's something you would like, I'd love to read that in the chat or in the comments, because that's something I really would like to work on. And that's it actually for this for this introduction. And again, it's so stupid that I can't see your chat, but that's what it is.
Martin said number 6, the D major is great piece.
Okay, I was just sharing some of your... Okay, the 6th one is great. That's true. It's actually only today that I looked at it. We'll see how that goes. So at the end of the live stream, I also will demonstrate you. And if you're not staying so long, this will be a video tomorrow, the live stream, and you can check it out if you would like to. Someone asked me to give a comparison between the clavichord with open lid and with closed lid, but I'm going to do that at the end, because now, if you are here for the Sonatines, I'm talking 18 minutes now, which is way too long. I planned for 10 minutes. So I'm going to unmute the big microphones now, and you will hear my voice with more room and space now, and then we go into... It's very stupid, again, that I don't read your chat, because I would like to interact with you here now, but I don't know what's wrong. Normally it works. Maybe if I make it a little bit bigger, yeah, even then it's too small. So I apologize for that. If something really comes up, I know you will have a great time in the chat, and if really something is, Aina is sitting over there, and she will notify me. She's actually not sitting anymore over there, but she will come back. Okay, let me just start with the C major. And again, this is the kind of sight reading plus. And in the C major, I will change something in the repetition, which works great on this clavichord. There we go. Oh, sorry. So this worked great with this short sound. It's of course a kind of drum that you have in the bass here. Let me just do it again with a little bit more of concentration, because the introduction with talking was not a great introduction for me to play. So there we go again. So great piece. Also the contrast that he makes. Very expressive here with the kind of introduction of drama. Again, it's for students. Great music, I believe. And there you have a second part, which is already very cantabile. And okay, I'm not going into details for performance technique, but we could make some separate videos for that. So. Beautiful E flat now. Sounds bigger than it is actually, which is a good thing. Then number 2, G major, Allegro 2/4. And on my tempi are, sometimes you will notice that my tempi fluctuate a little bit at the beginning, but again, I'm in the process of fine-tuning this, so this is not a reference recording. But okay, it's just practicing together with you. So I think it's nice. Now we have an allegretto. It's a kind of particular piece. Also, again, to learn to play in another way, in another character. So let's try it. Then Allegro 3/8. I like playing that very much. I don't know why. And it gives kind of unity, and also passages like this, that's typically Clementi. And if I play Clementi, I've told you that before, I often think on the work of Kostas Papazaveropoulos, because Kostas also has this kind of surprise element sometimes. That's so difficult to introduce to music that has such a strict style. But also here with Clementi, you have suddenly this shift. Such elements make music stand out from other music. So here we have a sonata in C major. There's a third one, spirituosa at the beginning, 4/4 common time, and this has a kind of Mozart-like beginning. It's beautiful. But that beginning is just brilliant. That's top level music. No discussion about this. And there are only a very few who can do that. No, beautiful. That's typical Clementi, such an ending. Yeah. And now we have the second movement, which is also very particular. He writes a poco adagio with a common time with the stroke. Notation is kind of weird, but possibly to simplify it for students. But he wants to, I think, give room for a kind of character performance that has this adagio feel, and it starts very easy, kind of, I wouldn't say cheap, but very easy. But then he makes a move to this in bar 3 of in bar 5. It's brilliant. So let me just give you an impression. Just a few lines. And again, let's not forget, it is kept under a technical level. It's not always easy, it's getting more difficult. that it's still there. This you can work with students on musical performances and expression. Perfect piece for that.
People who have played this piece.
Okay, good to know.
And not everyone enjoyed it.
Okay, so Anya says that a lot of you have played it in the chat. And again, if you just tune in, I can't read the chat. I will fix it later, but let's just focus on the music. So I hope you're enjoying it now a little bit more. I enjoy playing it a lot. Then we have an allegro, 2/4, typically last movement, so not too fast, guys. Let's see, because there are some misprints here. Okay, there. Again, this is of course a very simple last part, but it has something that sticks to your mind. Then we come to number 4, which is F minor. By the way, this is opus 36. You have also 37 and 38, which are bundles, if I'm not mistaken, of 4 sonatas. So not diving into that today. So this is a beautiful first part. And I'm going to repeat the first section and then do something with the bass and demonstrate to you the power of my clavichord. I mean, why I like my clavichord so much can be demonstrated with such a bass. Because it is a forte bass, but I'll make it come out more, and that's the great thing about my clavichord. I love so much. You give more input and the clavichord says, give it to me, and it just puts it out, and that's great. The soundboard that just show it to you, or share it with you, or let you listen. That's the way. But beautiful piece. So when I play a sonata form, and the thing is, and I think this with all of you, of course, the composer or the level of composition becomes really clear in the development. And so if you hear Clementi start like this, he's always great in that, by the way. He's just, yeah. So modulating to F major, kind of. And then surprise. So that's great. And then going to this passage. Great. Again with very little elements. Then we have an andante con espressione, which maybe is a little bit too long, but it has much quality in it. So let's try. It shares a lot with much bigger andantes and adagios, where you can, as a teacher, again, learn a lot about expression, and again, that's for another thing. And a beautiful rondo vivace. That's the kind of theme that will stick into your head if you play this as a last part of a concert. great music, really great. Then we come number 5. I'm getting more and more recent, so I played it just a few times. But this is also a gorgeous piece and very simple. So it's a presto indication. So it's this kind of notation, very simple notation. I mean also very simple elements, but it does great things with that. It reads kind of difficult here, but we see where we come. The presto, not diving into that today. But of course, if you make a last movement like this, imagine you practice that at home as a piano student, and you come in the lesson and you say faster, 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 kills totally this joyful movement. And yeah, I've had similar experiences on Beethoven music, but that's for another thing. Okay. Okay, well, Aina said if I want to see the chat, she has the tablet, but...
You can play first.
Yeah, I will play first, and then we can have a chat. Okay. Sorry. Is that great music or isn't that? But of course, and if you play this on a modern piano, this is way more difficult because then you have to hide the left hand and the right hand because it's overpowering so easy if you go down. But of course, on such a keyboard, it works, yeah, perfect because it's meant for a keyboard like this, period keyboard. I don't know actually if Clementi played a lot of clavichord, but in Europe he must have. But that's another topic. Then we have an air Suisse, so it's a Swiss air, Swiss song, which is Allegretto moderato 3/8. I can show you that. It's an important piece, I think, because this is somewhat later. I believe the Sonatines are 1799 something, but still, if you know the Franz Liszt, what's the name of the 3 bundles of pieces that he wrote about Italy, I've even played one on YouTube. What's the name? I would say it like 1,000 times, but it doesn't matter. You know what I mean. You hear some of these later, much later piano way of writing this kind of rural thing. So I come to the name. You'll know what I mean. This is 3 volumes of first set of Voyage to Switzerland, then I believe Italy, and then it's another one, 3 sets. And there you have said similar kind of elements. So just to say how important and influential Clementi was in his music and development of style. Okay. Would work great also on an early piano with, of course, the sustaining pedal up. And then we have a somewhat more known rondo. I believe this is in many compilations books for students, but great piece because he also introduced in the development some unexpected elements, and that he molds that, he creates a unity out of that. 2/4 Allegro di molto. So by the way, this is the tempo I would choose also to play. This is an Allegro molto. Again, that's not the topic of this video, of this live stream, but think about the 2/4 as a 4/8 certainly here. That's for another time. Again, if you play this on as the last piece of a concert, you will get a big applause, because this is, yeah, great music. Then number 6, there was really fresh music from me. I just looked at it today, but we're going to try, and that's great. There's two movements, and that's D major. Allegro con spirito, and here you have to look and to see how it sounds. Okay, let's just try. That's really sight reading here now. and then an allegretto, no, allegretto spiritoso, and that's the last movement of the Opus 36. Let's see what, because, okay, yeah. Okay, that was kind of challenging. Before I go to the chat and I will bring with the tablet, I will close the lid of the clavichord because there was a question. I told you that at the beginning, and just play a few bars now. Before I do that, I will going to mute these microphones here. Thank you, Anya. For they influence the sound, of course, of the clavichord. So these two I will mute now. So you'll hear my voice from a distance now, like this. And so let me just play a few bars now with the lid open, and then as a reference, close that. Maybe just take this movement. It was really joyful. A few bars. If people played like this at the time, if I play it like that. So here's the clavichord closed. And so on. So there you have it. So, and to answer that question, I never play like that, but I know a lot of people who like that. The sound comes from much more of a distance. And I should unmute it. Much more of a distance is like it's closing the sound, but it's blending it in a way that's beautiful as well. But I like to hear all details, and the particular thing why I don't do it. If you're used to play like this, that if you open the clavichord then, or if you have a square piano, then you will hear a lot more details, and so you can be surprised then by the effect, what was hidden actually under the lid of the clavichord of the piano. For big pianos, by the way, I believe it was practiced not to open it too much. So the pianoforte, I'm going to get it hopefully this year, fingers crossed. Will probably be closed a lot, I think so. I don't know, we have to see. So if you have something to ask me now on the Clementi, please leave it in the chat now, and I can read it then.
One question, the soundboard I said pineapple, but that's...
It's not pineapple, it's pine wood. But which one? I don't know. But the soundboard, the selection of the wood of the soundboard is one of the secrets, quote unquote, on instrument building and certainly clavichord building. Everything that goes wrong in building a clavichord and you have an instrument with almost no sound, which many clavichords don't have. I mean, you shouldn't have a big sound output for an instrument that's just at home. I like the dynamic range, but I'm driving this kind of type of instrument also to the limits with works of Beethoven, which was done at the time, and very good clavichords were very much sought after, were expensive, and even very renowned known builders didn't build always clavichords up to the same level. So even Silbermanns were asked for in the 19th century even. And the soundboard quality is really so important. It needs to enhance all the frequencies that you produce. And not only that, it shouldn't become saturated with sound. So if you build up a chord, for instance, like this, you should have the feeling that there's always room left. There's always a room behind, also in the treble. And that's this part doing. Okay.
Are you going to record these pieces for YouTube?
So a question that Anja is giving, if I'm going to record, as I said at the beginning, for YouTube, of course, I'm going to record the Sonatines and we'll make a project out of this. Because it has educational sides that I would like to emphasize. But I think it would be great for a CD recording and maybe even for a simple vinyl box with a score. So if that's the case, leave it in the chat, because I have a lot of projects, but I'm enthusiastic of the music. I hope you are too. I don't know if Anja has followed the chat. Okay, if you are enthusiastic, it would be great to let me know if you would like to have these pieces not only on YouTube but also in a good score with my fingerings, because I think the fingerings are important. But that's for another topic. So, yeah, Leon says to play the notes everyone can do it. These sonatas have much musicality, and that's with a lot of music that you need to add something. And Mozart is of course Mozart. And some of the best works of Clementi, I think they match the average work of Mozart. Beethoven is Beethoven. But we have dived into that music also very deep and very long over centuries. So we know that so well. And even if you open new perspectives, like I like to do, and it's not because of the wish to open new perspectives, but just I want to play it like that, and I want to check it. I mean, check it with these sources. That's not going to help you, but you build up in that context, and that's also for another video. I've made a lot of videos on that. But still, the music of Mozart is very known. This is also known music, maybe played to death, some of them, of the pieces, but you need to take it in the same way of you would take a Mozart piece, and then it becomes different. Take it as serious as that. Yeah, Sebas, you were the one who asked it to close lid. He says it doesn't sound too bad actually. No, it's just from an open sound you have a more closed sound, which has also a positive influence on the blending of the sound. Andy writes that seeing pictures of Leonard's home with porcelain collection displayed on top of his vaginal, and so had to play it with the lid closed, or didn't play it at all, I don't know. Yeah. And of course, a vaginal is sounding louder than the clavichord, and the harpsichord sounds louder than the clavichord. So there are instruments that you maybe, if you practice a lot at home, you want to have the lid closed. For the clavichord, it doesn't matter too much. Both of my girls are now sleeping. Evelyn was sleeping before the live stream. Sophie went upstairs, but we have one door closed, and then we have a long hallway, and then it's her room, and she is falling asleep way easier with the clavichord on the background. So that's maybe like Bach did it in his home with so many kids. Who knows? Martin says, in my mind, number 6 compares with 545. That's the Mozart sonata. This one. Yes, there are some Mozart pieces, like the 4th one. This one is number 3. It's very Mozart-like. Yeah, but they were very close. And don't forget, I've made a video on that, Christmas Eve 1781, that meeting Clementi on that evening must have been very important for young Mozart. He died young. He was still young at the time. His technique, of course, he had a great technique, but don't get me wrong, Clementi in 1780, these sonatas were not seen, were not done. And you have a different kind of technique when you move to the Bach area and the Bach students, but they were not isolated from the rest. They were great names, great musicians, but in Vienna was the place where it happened, also the new style. And if you go to works by Haydn, 17-ish, 50, 60, 70, or you go to young Mozart, technically that's much more easy than what Bach achieved, even Immanuel Bach. Immanuel Bach, of course, had to adapt to the new style, new fashion as well, but still his music is very difficult. But of course, Father Bach's music was way more difficult than a generation later people would start to write in. And then came Clementi with a kind of development and technique that was different from the Bach area, with octaves and thirds and sixths. I have some sonatas on YouTube, you can check it out, as there are playlists. And that was unseen. And imagine what that evening meant for Mozart. There was not such thing as YouTube. There was not such thing as even having scores easily from people. If they were printed, they were not always available, but much was not printed. And so there he saw probably one of the pieces Clementi played was this toccata. I've uploaded it last week, last Monday. So imagine what that did to young Mozart. So Clementi's influence is gigantic, I think. And also on Beethoven. Beethoven was Clementi fan, and Clementi was a Beethoven fan. He published, I think, a lot of music from Beethoven for the first time in Great Britain. Okay, Mike, I see some names. So great, Charles. What you write. Really appreciate that. So I'm sorry that I didn't say hello at the beginning, but the chat is not working on my computer. Happy that it worked here.
Well, Emily was on the chat also.
Okay, Emily Davidson, great. So.
She's away now.
So that's great. I'm very happy, guys, that I could share this with you. And again, you will hear about on Clementi a lot more. And these Sonatines, they will stay here in the neighborhood of my clavichord for a while, and certainly make a YouTube recording, because yeah, I need to practice a little bit more, and then it's done. For the CD recording, that's another thing I have to figure out, kind of project around that, maybe together with the Costas easy sonatas. Stay tuned for that, because they are really great, and I'm waiting to play them, but they need to be finished, and he has right. I mean, he wants to have it perfect, and then we make a project out of this as well. So for the coming weeks, tomorrow will be a piece by Costas, is Hafner Mozart Variations, one of his best works until now, recently written. There is a story on that. Maybe we're going to share that with him, but the story is very simple. He actually dedicated that piece to one of the true descendants of the Hafner family, which is still Princess Caroline Hafner Murat, I believe. And she's a pianist. It's great story. She's a pianist, and she has a music festival in Corfu, which is organized by a man a music critic and very influential in Greece. Kostas and he met through my YouTube channel, which is of course great to know. I mean, if you can serve people like that. And so that man brought Kostas in contact with the princess on that festival. And then Kostas said, why not writing variations on that Mozart symphony that was composed in 1782 for the Hafner family, and she is really a relative from that original family. And so he presented the manuscript in Corfu to her, which was of course a great moment for him. That's for tomorrow. Then we'll have some other videos, and the next live, I don't know what's going to be on the schedule this week. It's scheduled, but I forgot. And then for the next live stream will be not this Thursday, but the Thursday after that. And then on Sunday we have something else. There's a light not working anymore, so it's time to close the live stream, I guess. I wish you a very good evening or a very good day, depending on the place on this planet where you live, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you for watching, and we see each other very soon. Okay, bye.